One team has won 3 in a row and one's lost 3 in a row. Can we make it 4 in a row? Let's go. And welcome in, folks. It is episode 191 of Out of Your Falcon Mind, Atlanta Falcons Fancast. My name is John, your host, not joined by Mike tonight, who's off in parts unknown, trying to get a Wi-Fi connection in a sketchy motel, to say the least, only in Mike fashion. But I am joined by the humblest of hosts here in the Falcon space, Mr. Aaron Freeman. Buddy, welcome back to the show.
I appreciate you having me. I'm a little disappointed I won't get to talk to Mike tonight if that's not possible, just because all the times I've been on the show the last couple of years, like the Falcons have been kind of iffy. They've never been like, hey, and I just want to see, that positivity from Mike when the Falcons are legitimately like playing like a good football team.
I mean, it's not much different than when we suck, but it's, but it's like there's just more actual legitimate basis behind it. So he doesn't seem so so crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's just like his whatever, I don't know, his extensionalism, like positivity is actually justified for once. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But no, man, I think last time we were on together was the draft night, I believe, and we were all kind of in shock about the Penix pick. I think that was the last time, and we all came around on it by now. But that was it's been I don't know, man. We're sitting here at 4-2. I mean, I'm pretty satisfied. But I don't know, what did you think at this point in the season?
Yeah, they're a little bit ahead of where I was hoping we get to, like 3-3 at this point. I figured they would probably one of these divisional games, and the fact that they won all 3 of them, I think really puts this team ahead of the curve at this point. I think they got a interesting slate of games. I don't want to say tough slate of games, but these next like 4 or 5 games are pretty much all against teams that are in the thick of playoff contention at this point in the season, and sort of. I think the Falcons can, if they can win a lot of these games between now and their bye week, can really kind of separate themselves from the crop, or do they kind of fall back down a little bit? And some of these teams like Tampa Bay and whoever else, can sort of make up a little bit of ground. So I think this next stretch of games will sort of either propel them into the home stretch where we can feel great about this team sort of in that back, 6 or so games, or we'll, be doing the typical things that we always do with the Falcons, like, hey, maybe this is, maybe they'll turn it around this week or those things. So I think, they're in a good spot right now, and I think, they have the potential to be in a much better spot in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I found myself, in the Eagles game, and of course the Pittsburgh game, and then, in the Chiefs game, and then again, in the Saints game, just those same kind of emotions, like, oh shit, here we go again. Like, it's like you just you know what I mean? Like you're just kind of waiting. You're just waiting. And it's like, but that didn't happen. We came back and won that Eagles game, and we won the Saints game, and we won the Bucks game in overtime. I was like, what is happening? Like this is not typically what we do, so it's a very welcome change, man. But anyway, guys, like I said, welcome into the show. We appreciate y'all stopping by tonight. Like I said, Mike will hopefully be joining us. We'll see. He's got whoever's working at this motel on the case to get the Wi-Fi up and running. But if not, worst case, Aaron, we'll have you back on again soon, so you can at least again experience Mike while he's in his basking in his array of Falconness. But and if y'all are here, man, subscribe, hit the like button. We appreciate that. Helps us keep growing on these channels. And we just surpassed 20,000 listens on the podcast platforms, which for us our little show is pretty awesome. So we appreciate you guys that are continuing to listen to us on Spotify or iTunes or wherever the hell y'all listen to us. We appreciate it very much. And we got to give a shout out to Tyler Algier, man, winning angry runs this week on Good Morning Football. Kyle Brandt gave it out. I was trying to get him a few weeks ago when David Montgomery earned it. I'll say he, sent, I forgot who it was. Might have been Witherspoon actually, like through the turf in that game against Seattle. So, and I think he went on for a touchdown. So he earned that one. But hey, Tyler, basically running through the entire Carolina defense, won in the scepter this week. And that shirt's already on order for myself and for my son. I had to jump on that one pretty quickly because, we don't get that often. So, had to jump on it. So congrats to Tyler on that. A few moves around the league, man. y'all probably already heard Devontae Adams to the Jets, Cam Akers to the Vikings, Amari Cooper to the Bills. So stuff's starting to move around. Aaron, you see the Falcons making a move?
Nothing major. I know a lot of folks are really been pushing for the Falcons to trade for one of these big time pass rushers. I don't think any of the big time pass rushers are going to be on the move. Teams usually don't trade their best football players, the Myles Garretts, the Max Crosbys, those types of guys, the Micah Parsons. We can have a conversation about the Cowboys trading Micah Parsons, but that's more of a 2025 thing than a 2024 thing. Right. So I don't really see the Falcons making any major moves. If they do make a move, it'll be like similar to the Kentavious Street trade last year or something like that. And maybe they wind up trading Kentavious Street because he's seemingly been lost in the shuffle these last couple of weeks. And that, opens the door for Rukaroro and Brandon Dorlus to get more playing time. And, if they trade him, it'll be for like a conditional 7th round pick, or it'll be for another sort of backup level sort of. So I could see the Falcons making a move, but I don't think they're going to be making any sort of big splash move that I think a lot of people are hoping that is going to be that quote unquote final piece to the puzzle to put them on the Super Bowl path. That, people, this time of year tend to really, I don't know what the word, buy into that.
Yeah.
I remember someone asking me around this time last year when the Falcons were like 3-3. It's like, hey, if we get a pass rusher, are we a Super Bowl team? And I'm like, I don't know about that, my guy. Like, we're just trying to get playoffs, we're just trying to get bounced in the first round of the playoffs with Desmond Ridder, and that's a successful season for that particular team, as opposed to we're one piece away from being a Super Bowl contender. So I think we're further along than that. I think we legitimately have a chance to get to the second round of the playoffs or something like that this year, and maybe even win that game, as opposed to previous years. But I don't think, this one piece of way mentality is going to help the Falcons, at least at this point.
Yeah, the lies we told ourselves last year, man. My God. we tried so hard, though. We tried. Yeah. I mean, even this year, man, like I tried to normally, like, I've told you before, you keep me, you keep me here, you keep me even keel. Like I can't, if I get super high, I'll listen to you. I'm like, you know what? That makes sense. I bring my ass back down a little bit. I mean, lower those expectations. But then when I told folks, before on the show, like, then we signed Judon Simmons. I was like, I don't even care. We're going to Super Bowl. I'm all with Mike. Let's do it. Let's go.
I know.
So
everybody was that way. I was trying to keep it tempered. I'm like, okay, now I think we really have a shot at making the playoffs.
Right.
But I know everybody else was like, skip the playoffs. We're right in the Super Bowl hunt.
Yeah. Then Pittsburgh happened, and it was like, oh, we're the worst team in the world. Like couldn't play anymore. Now we're not making the playoffs, and Raheem sucks. Fire him. It was just like, it's been it was like Zach said. That seems like that game was forever ago now. At the out these last 5 games that went. But jump in the chat real quick. Lisa, what's going on? Good to see you. Dre, what's up, man? It has been a minute, man. Good to see you in here, buddy. Travis, what's going on, dude? Yeah, man. Aaron is this is probably Aaron's 3rd or 4th. I think time. I believe. I think you and I've done 2 together. I think without Mike. I think maybe 2 with Mike. I can't remember. I don't know.
I think this is like 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah, it's up there for sure, man. What's going on, Carrie? Hopefully, said every day is bonus edition. That's right. That's absolutely right. And like I said, I would love for us to sweep the division. Tampa will be our tough. Yeah, 100%. I mean, for y'all that do care about power rankings, Tampa, I believe, is still rated higher than we are. Even though, we've beat them, but that's cool. Sorry. Yeah, man, no problem. Hopefully we enjoy it, buddy. At least said we have been getting progressively better. Still haven't played our best ball yet. No, we've shown that we can do pretty much everything offensively. Maybe just not all at once. And then the defense, of course, we'll get into that. Another PR. What's up, buddy? Not comfortable with Seattle, just waiting for the biscuit pick, man. So Aaron, if you got to jump on, y'all know Mike's dog Biscuit. He's 5-1 this year. So, and he posts, like Michael posts a short either on Sunday or Saturday. Biscuit, he's got the little mini helmets, and Biscuit will have to, go to one of the mini helmets. Last week was a little messed up because Mike he told him there was no more treats available, and then Biscuit saw one under the couch, which is right next to the helmets. So he spent about 10 minutes going back and forth trying to get the treat. Finally picked us, but hey, it's okay. So it worked out. But we are 5-1. People are making money on Biscuits, so there you go. Yes, Lisa, so much has changed since. Yeah, thank God. We'd be in a really bad place right now if it was the same. Well, Jamal, what's up, buddy? Mr. Smith, this is a random collab. I love hearing Aaron hate while throwing compliments.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah, I
There you
think that's
go.
right.
There you go, man. Yeah, we like I said, Mr. Smith. I don't know how long you've been around, man, but we with us at least. But yeah, we've been on his before, and he's had us. And then of course, like I said, we've had him on ours. So yeah, we'll continue that up. Jamal said trade for Myles Garrett. Yeah, I would love it, but I don't like Aaron said. That would be that or Crosby would be very out of the Falcons realm of doing things. I can't. I don't know. I mean, it'd be great, but I don't know. I can't see that happening. But anywho, man, I got a chance to look at the 22 today. I don't know. You obviously do the extensive review for the Locked On Insiders and everything. But what stood out to you? I mean, we'll start with the offense this week.
Yeah, I think you saw the run game get going. I think offensively there wasn't anything like deeper on the film that you didn't see watching the game live. Like
right.
You watched the game live, the run game was going, the blocking was real good. Charlie Warner was out there blocking. Drake London was out there blocking. Matthew Bergeron getting a couple of pancakes out there. Chris Lindstrom doing his usual thing. And Algier running angry, breaking tackles, finishing off the game. Bijan making the open field. So I think offensively, what you saw is what you got. The passing game, I thought Kirk got off to a little bit of slow start, didn't get really going until the second quarter. But then once he got going, him and Drake London were linking up. The Kyle Pitts drama. He gets a 50-yard play and then he quits on the route. It's just so like it's pretty much that. So yeah, I think offensively it was just pretty much a straightforward game. Watching the film, I was like, yeah, this is pretty much what I thought on Sunday, because John, watching the All 22, there's always a couple of things that you usually miss. And it's just, to me, the things I missed were just like some of the blocking stuff more so than anything that stood out, otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, some of the blocking has made national news this week, as far as like they're talking about some of the, I mean, it was on Pat McAfee and several guys talking to Dan Orlovsky about how they've never seen the way that, we were setting up some of these blocks and stuff like that on the offensive line, which is awesome. With using Charlie Warner and, like you said, that you've seen all the receivers, Ray McLeod in there throwing blocks, coming off motion. It was awesome to see too, like, I know they've done this before in the season, but it seemed like the Darnell Mooney pre-snap motion was really confusing some of Carolina's defense. I mean, like the time that he was left himself wide open and then the other time when he got Kyle loose on it, it seemed like when he went over there to the right side, safety and corner had no idea who was supposed to do what at that point, and then Kyle got free and got a huge play. So I mean, it was that stood out. And then defensively, it's frustrating, man, to keep watching the run defense kind of like just not be there, which is why I titled this show, like, is the run defense ready for Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet? Like, I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about Seattle in a few minutes, but they did try some new things. I mean, I could see that at least we definitely were in man more than we had been. But yeah, you talk about it. What did you see on defense?
Yeah, they played more man coverage this week. It wasn't effective, and I think the expectation is like, who does Carolina have at wide receiver other than Deontay Johnson?
Right.
And then you go back to the last time the Falcons played Deontay Johnson, I think was in 2022 when the Steelers and like AJ shut him down in that game. And you're like, why was he giving the Falcons so many problems? And other players, lesser receivers, giving the Falcons problems in man coverage. And I think some of that was owed to the Falcons not dialing up pressure. I think some of that is owed to the Falcons playing a lot more off coverage than the sort of typical press man that you typically like to see. And we've seen AJ Terrell play at a high level. They kind of switched up their coverages a little bit. They've been predominantly a cover 3 team. They did a lot more cover 2 and cover 6 in this game. And it was pretty effective when it hasn't always consistently been effective in the previous weeks. So I think they tried some different things. And I noted on Locked On Falcons, it was very Ryan Nielsen-esque in some of the things that they were doing, that a lot of the things that they were trying to do outside of playing off coverage as opposed to press coverage, because Ryan Nielsen left him some press coverage. But outside of that, there was a lot of the things that they were doing last year defensively that worked for them. And, I joked because like oftentimes on the all 22 reviews that I do on Locked On Falcons, like I'll make a say like, oh, they need to make this adjustment. And then the next week they make the adjustment. I'm like, someone, at least an intern in Flowery Branch is watching the show. Right? Someone is watching the show, or, obviously it's great minds think alike, that sort of thing. But It was funny because I wrote an article for the Falcoholic this past week, basically being like, you need to do more Ryan Nielsen stuff because that was working for the defense with the third down, with the pass rush, with the run defense. And so they tried that. And so I was like, okay, so someone is clearly watching the show, or at least reading some of the work I write.
Or you're underpaid. One of the two. Like maybe all of it.
I need it. I hope I can get a cut of some check if the Falcons defense turns it around. But I think they tried some different things. All of it didn't work. Some of it did, some of it didn't. And I think it'll be interesting to see if they continue to kind of switch things up in the future weeks. I'm kind of expecting them against Seattle to kind of go back to the bend but don't break sort of defense that we've seen the first 5 weeks. And, I think it's going to be probably another one of those Sundays where we're watching the defense for 3 quarters and being like, man, can we get a stop? And then in the fourth quarter, they make the plays. They get that, patented Geno Smith interception or something like that. Who was it? D. Alford that picked it off? And
Richie Grant.
Oh,
yeah. It was Richie. Yeah.
It was Richie. You're right.
He was helping me out at that point, like furthering my agenda. Now, I mean, I'm off of it now, but at the time it was big for me. I was like, Richie, that's my man.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get a Richie or Jesse Bates or Justin Simmons interception in the fourth quarter that will seal this win for us. So I think that's probably what we're in store for.
That'd be fantastic, man. This defense like that. I've said it before, and I've heard you say it too. Like it drives me crazy to watch. Like it just literally, like, because you just know it's just death by 1,000 cuts down the entire field, and then we stop them. And our boy Daniel Flick put out something today, and you might have already saw this, but he wrote a story for Falcons SI, and he said one interesting fact that he found out while writing the story is the Falcons allow completions on 73.2% of the opposing passes, which is the highest number in the NFL. But they rank 6th in yards per completion at 6.3 and number 9 in passing defense overall at 193 yards per game. So it's like, as much as it's frustrating us, I mean, we are holding them to, I mean, they are, and my whole thing has just been like, that seems like a dangerous way to live, especially when you're playing against better teams, that can, not going to settle for 3. They're going to go ahead and just push it in on you. And that's going to be that, so, but that just goes, that stat right there. Yeah. I mean, if you watch every week and you do watch, if you do or don't watch 22, if you do, but if you hear us talking about it, yeah, they're limited to 6.3 because everybody's playing back the entire time. They can't get anything explosive. I mean, you got guys playing 30 yards downfield. They can't throw like that far. So it is what it is. So it's like, it's frustrating, but it's been effective. So I think we're all searching for like, okay, so do we have the personnel? Like, what do you see as the issue? Like, why can we not be a little bit more aggressive in whether it's the scheme or the players? Because, I mean, for me watching the 22 as well, like the defensive line is as good as some of those guys are. A lot of it is just inconsistency. Like you'll see him, like last week, Grady just make the center look stupid, come through the line, boom. 2 plays later, they're getting blown off the ball. The hole opens up as wide as a truck to drive through, So it's just like they can't get a consistent kind of just, they're not going to win every rep, but it's just like the majority there. That's what I guess is frustrating to see is you can't, and that's why we keep giving up chunks of yards in the run game.
Yeah. The run defense, I think it's a multifaceted issue. I think the team has done a decent job defending outside zone. And you saw that in the Saints game. I know the Saints did run for like 130 yards or whatever, but that was probably the game where I think the run defense was probably most effective, at least getting some of those negative plays. Obviously, that was the big game where Troy Anderson had a bunch of those tackles close to the line of scrimmage, as opposed to what my friend Jarvis Davis, the Locked On Sports Atlanta, is, pile jumping down the field and whatnot. But, Troy was actually on it that game. And like, I think when Carolina was running some of the outside zone stuff, you saw some of those negative plays where Grady was knifing through the backfield, but they've really struggled this year when teams have run inside zone or gap or power runs, where basically, for those who are not familiar with different run schemes and whatnot, is it's just a straight ahead downhill. We're just going to punch you in the mouth. And, some of it is owed to the Falcons getting in their nickel fronts and being a little undersized. Some of it is owed, I think, to their personnel's probably more geared to being a 4-3 sort of attacking defense than necessarily the 3-4 hold the point of attack defense. We know Grady Jarrett's not the biggest guy in the world. He's not necessarily great taking on double teams. David Onyemata's played his entire career in a 4-3 and been very productive in that. And, I think those guys have kind of struggled somewhat taking on the double teams. It hasn't been much better for Ruka Roro and Zach Harrison and Taquan Graham, although you do see flashes from those guys every now and then, but you're not getting the level of consistency there. The linebacker play is up and down week to week, due to injuries some weeks, due to inconsistency. So like, I feel like the run game is a work in progress. I'm kind of at the point where it's just like, I think it's just going to be bad for most of the year, and we're just going to have to live with it. And as long as the Falcons can keep doing what you're talking about, which is, a lot of bending, and then just don't break in the red zone and, tighten up there, like, it'll be fine. But it's going to be very frustrating to watch. I think the good thing about the Seahawks game is Seattle has not been, they're the team that is the least committed to running football. They're dead last in the NFL in terms of percentage of runs. And so this is a week where every Seahawks fan is going to be like, run the dang ball against this terrible Falcons run defense. And we'll see if they do. If they do, they'll probably have their most successful game running the football. But at the same time, they could quickly abandon it, as they have done so many times so far this year. And that will at least give us Falcon fans some hope that, hey, our run defense actually stopped the team, not because they actually stopped them, but just because that team abandoned the run. So I think that's where we're at going into this game.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like, they've listened to some of the Seattle podcasts this week. Like, they're all very pissed off at Ryan Grubb for not. They drafted Kenneth and Charbonnet both in the second round, and both really good backs in their own rights. But just like you said, for whatever reason, and they have been down in a couple of games recently. Like I said, they lost the last 3 games, but yeah, for whatever reason, they're relying more on Geno, which is fine. But now that Geno is leading the league in interceptions, I think he has 6. And we know he's pretty accurate there, but he's also, he is aggressive. He will take chances maybe sometimes when he shouldn't. But yeah, it's weird. Hopefully, I don't know. I keep waiting. Like, I don't, like you said, now we're 6 weeks in. I'm not expecting anything kind of wholesale change. It kind of is what it is. Like you said, I'm just kind of prepared now to just watch it happen and just deal with it.
Yeah.
and not get so angry on Twitter like I normally do, and just kind of chill and just, wait and hope for the best. But yeah, I'm with you. Another PR said, move toward the weak side, let him rip. I mean, I don't know. What do you say on that?
Yeah, sure. I think the linebackers are pretty interchangeable at this point in time. One of the things I did notice in this Carolina game is the Falcons, because they were playing more cover 2 and Tampa 2, and where in the Tampa 2 you have that middle linebacker running the vertical seam in the deep third. They had Nate Landman doing that stuff, and I'm like, this is not Nate Landman stuff. No. This is, when's Troy coming back? This is the Troy. We need Troy out there doing that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to sort of see how the team mixes in now 3 and 4 linebackers when Troy becomes healthy again. Because one of the things I noticed in the Carolina game is J.D. Bertrand got a lot more run than I thought, especially when the Falcons were running some of the dime defense that, Ryan Nielsen loved running last year. And so far, Jimmy Lake has barely dabbled in it, but they did a lot more against Carolina, going back to my earlier point where they were basically doing Ryan Nielsen stuff. So yeah, I think that rotation is going to be fascinating, because all of those guys have sort of different strengths. Caden Ellis, great pass rusher; Troy Anderson, good coverage guy; right? Nate Landman, very good run defender; and J.D. Bertrand at this point is a really good special teams player, but hasn't quite proven it. But like, I think the sort of mixing and matching and having a 4-deep rotation, I think, is going to give the team some versatility if they want to try to feature all 4 of those guys in various ways and try to get more out of that linebacker position, maximize each of those guys. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that rotation once all those guys are healthy again.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, I think it was a play to Miles Sanders. You kind of saw why you didn't want Nate Landman, really, because that was, if there was ever a play to be like, yeah, that guy should not cover anybody, that was it. Because it looked like feet was in sand chasing Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is not that fast either. It was like, oh, okay, well, this is not going to work. But yeah, so yeah, Troy needs to get healthy in a hurry. Berto, what's up, brother? He said, fellas, what's up? I see you, Mr. AKA. CJ or C. Electrician said, Terry Henderson is coming home to Atlanta. I wouldn't hate it, but I don't know what the Bengals will do that. But, Mr. Smith says Simmons out's going to hurt us. Hopefully he's not out. I know he was out of practice today, but they didn't seem all that concerned about it after the game. Hopefully that's in. I think Raheem said this morning they'd see how he was doing, but I think, well, cross our fingers, we're good to go. And hopefully so love CP3 picking Wisdom to get down. Yeah, that was huge. That was definitely a veteran move by him. Dre said, hey, and I'm sure you've probably covered it, but I wanted to get your take on what's the issue with DeAngelo Malone.
Um, he's good on special teams. He's not very good on defense. That's kind of simple. I think the issue with DeAngelo Malone coming into the NFL was he was always going to be an undersized run defender, and when it comes to players like him at that position, we always focus on the pass rush and the potential there. And if you're a Falcon fan, it's understandable because we've been waiting seemingly a decade plus for a good pass rusher here, and we tend to focus on that. But the issue with DeAngelo Malone was if he couldn't stop the run, it was going to be hard for coaches to justify playing him, and he just wasn't a good enough pass rusher to overcome that issue, right? With I'm going to invoke a name that is going to cause people to lose their minds, but with say someone like a Vic Beasley, right? Who was not a good run defender, but because he was a first round pick and he was a much better athlete than DeAngelo Malone, like he was a 95th percentile athlete, while DeAngelo Malone's more like a 75th percentile athlete. Vic Beasley potentially, again, obviously it didn't quite work out in the ways that we hoped, but as you saw in his second year, he had the potential to overcome those run deficiencies because of how effective a pass rusher he could be and get those snaps, and because of his high draft status, those opportunities that later round picks aren't going to necessarily get. So it's one of those things. I think with DeAngelo Malone, he just wasn't a good enough run stopper and just didn't turn into a good enough pass rusher to merit really any reason for the team to play him, because it's like we're not going to take Matthew Judon off the field so we can play
Right.
him. And as much as someone like an Arnold Epiketti gets from certain corners of the fan base, he's still probably a more effective pass rusher than DeAngelo Malone is. So you're not taking him off the field to get Malone snaps. And Epiketti had I think 6 pressures this past week. So
I was gonna say I thought he was pretty decent this last week, actually. Like
I think outside of week 1, he's been pretty solid. Again, if you were him to have a double-digit sack season, that ship has probably sailed at this point.
Right. Yeah.
He'd be an effective role player for this defense. I think he's shown that pretty consistently this year. And so then you're just sitting there if you're a coach and you're like, okay, well, he's not going to give us more value as a pass rusher, and then he's not a better run defender than James Smith-Williams, who's been very good in the run. Lorenzo Carter has been less than good against the run, but traditionally that's something that he's been good at in the past. So it's one of those things where it's like there's really no reason for the Falcons to play DeAngelo Malone at this point without him showing significant improvement in one or more of those areas. So at this point, he's just kind of stuck playing special teams. He's a good special teams player.
Yes.
You'll keep him employed. So I think the good thing, if you want to spin it in a positive way, is as long as he can some checks in the NFL, that gives him more time to potentially develop as a run defender, develop as a pass rusher, so that somewhere down the road he can get those opportunities that he's not getting currently. But at this point in time, I don't think there's really a lot of reasons for him to be out there on the field.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Marlon, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. And Berta says smash the like button, folks. That's right, man. Appreciate y'all. Marlon said, I'm proud of our boys. D-line got to tighten up. Yeah. We've been talking about that for sure. So with the first third of the season kind of behind us, now that we're at 17 games, we can't really do successfully quarters anymore. So we kind of split it up in thirds almost. So looking at what would you say going in? Maybe what's been the most impressive thing to you in this first 6 games? It can be a player, coach, whatever. Just kind of maybe what you didn't expect and what's kind of caught your eye.
Yeah, I think that probably the 2 players that have well exceeded my expectations are Darnell Mooney and Ray-Ray McCloud. I guess infamously was not that high on the Mooney signing. I was like, he's a number 3. He's not really a number 2. And he's been, a very good number 2 for the Falcons, and at times seemingly a number 1 when all things are going for him. And so it's been interesting to see sort of how impactful he has been in sort of generating the bulk of the Falcons' explosive plays. That's still an area that the Falcons need to improve upon. But you saw, 2 weeks ago against Tampa Bay, the potential there to generate a ton of those each and every week. And so we'll see if they can continue to do that. But Mooney has been good. I figured Ray-Ray McCloud would have a role, but I thought it would be purely as a gadget guy, a couple of jet sweeps, a couple of screens, get out there and block, all things that he's done in the past. but for him to be a bigger part of the offense as that sort of number 3 receiver and getting 90+% of the snaps was a surprise to me. So I think those are the two things that sort of exceeded my expectations. For the most part, everything else is kind of what in the ballpark of what I kind of thought it would be. I figured Kirk would take a month to get rolling, and then we get to Kirktober, and everything would be zooming at this point in time. And then if you're excited about Kirktober, then wait till Kirkvember, because that's when Kirk usually plays his best ball. So the slow start, I know that caused a lot of people to panic, and a lot of the overreaction, I think, to the mobility stuff in week 1. I was just like, pump the brakes, guys, like calm down. It'll be fine. We just got to get all this stuff around him working for it to and it'll be fine.
I've never seen more analysis of a man's feet in my life. of like zooming in, pause in slow motion. Did you see it? He didn't push off. He didn't push off.
Wiki feet, wiki calves, wiki
going
ankles,
back, right? And go back and comparing film to Minnesota. Like, this is what we did in Minnesota. I'm like, good Lord, this is what we're doing now. Like first week, but it's like I said a few weeks ago. It was like when we all knew. And I even said it. I said, I'm pretty sure that the offense will probably have to. It's going to take a little bit. The defense may have to kind of carry the offense until they kind of get things going. So we kind of all expected a slow start, but then we see it and we still get angry about it. It's just like, dude, we all kind of knew it was going to happen, but it's like so. But we just kind of let it go to our heads, I think, at that point. But yeah, I would agree with you on those players. For me, I think Zach has done a hell of a good job of just coming back from that first game, who was terrible. And I no other way to put it. I mean, all the way around from that aspect, from Kirk, the whole 9 yards. And I've said it before, it's a tough matchup to start off the season against. That's a good defense. Plus, everybody hated Arthur and wanted to beat Arthur, so there was that aspect to it. But just to seeing some of the nuances he's brought in, and definitely changing on the fly and game to game, it's just stuff you didn't really see a ton from Arthur. And I've said this before, and I don't know if you agree with me or not. I think a lot of it with Arthur is he may wanted to, but he was so hamstrung kind of by what the QB could or could not do. Granted, he picked the QB, but you didn't see a whole lot of change, a lot of just, hey, that didn't work. Let me try this with him. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think a lot of it the last 2 years was him wanting to do some stuff, the quarterback not being able to do the stuff, and then him having to kind of dial it back and kind of slowly. And it just felt like, especially last year with Ritter, it always felt like rather than building upon some of the success you had in previous games, you kind of always felt like you were restarting at the beginning again and trying to build him up through the course of a game. And unfortunately, it didn't work most of the time. So I think that was a lot of the issues with some of the things that he wanted to do offensively. But I agree with you. I think Zach has done an excellent job these last couple of games. I was as vocal as anybody criticizing him after that week 1, but I've said many times, like, we just flush that game away. Like, we'll just forget that it belongs in the sewers. And so
absolutely.
And so we just judge him by the last 5 games. And I think he's done a good job to the point that I can't even nitpick to the degree that I want to nitpick on some of these things.
Agreed. And I'll even throw some bones to the offensive line too, because, I know I was concerned about them being able to pass protect for a guy who really couldn't move. You say what you will about Ritter and Mariota, but they could get out of the pocket when they needed to, and we've, Kirk being a pocket passer, it's like, okay, you kind of worry about, can these guys, McGarry and, we're not too worried about Lindstrom, but even, with Bergeron and some, Jake has his deficiencies as well. Like, when Dahlman going down, what are we going to do with Newsel? Is he going to be able to step up? And they've, for the most part, given Kirk plenty of time to throw. There's been a few. Doing that. I know he got sacked 4 times in the Tampa Bay game, but he dropped back 58 times. So there's ample chances for that defense to get after him. But yeah, I'll throw them some flowers too, because I think they've done a pretty good job too.
Yeah, I think so too. The first couple of games were a little hit and miss. And I think these next couple of games are going to challenge them a little bit. Seattle, one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. Dallas, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Denver is also up there as well. So I think there'll be some challenges in the coming weeks. So we'll see, especially if Dahlman can come back healthy. I think they'll be in a position to answer some of those challenges. But yeah, I think the offensive line has performed pretty well. And as you said, like, it was one of those X factors that could really derail the season, given Kirk's limitations in terms of mobility, that you really needed your offensive line to step up and keep him clean. And I think they've, for the most part, done that.
For sure. Now, on the flip side, who kind of let you down so far? First, third. Who'd you expected more from that hasn't quite delivered? Player or position group?
I mean,
Coach,
yeah, Kyle Pitts. Let's do the Kyle Pitts conversation. Look, I'm not as down on Kyle Pitts as some people are, but I thought he would have a bigger role in this offense. I figured part of the reason why I was like, oh, Ray McCloud's just going to be a gadget guy, is because I figured like there'll be some times where Ray McCloud's their primary slot guy, but other times it'll be Kyle Pitts. He'll be kind of the Cooper Kupp in this offense more so than Ray McCloud is. And Cooper Kupp was obviously the slot receiver for the Rams for many years, very productive in that role. Right. And so those first couple of weeks when Kyle Pitts was kind of an afterthought in the offense, it was, I was more disappointed with Zach than I was with Kyle himself in that regard. So it not seeing him consistently have a role, but it's changed. Like, he doesn't have a huge role in the passing game, but if we can just at least get one of these 50-yard corner routes that they seem to consistently dial up every single week for him.
Yeah.
And if they can hit that every single week, then I'll forgive a lot of the other non-Kyle Pitts issues, whatever, lazy route running stuff. People tend to get fired up about. It's like, as long as he can generate that one explosive play, as I turned in a Locked On Falcons recently, you have these clubs in your bag. It felt like you were wasting a pretty good club in your bag with Kyle Pitts and the explosive plays, especially given the first month of the season where the Falcons were struggling to be explosive. And it feels like they figured it out. So I'm at peace with Kyle Pitts, but I know, like, expecting him, went into the season expecting him to have this monster year, or at least, a bounce back rebound sort of type of year that hasn't quite come to fruition. But, it's, again, sort of trying to make peace with, all right, here were my expectations. Here's the reality. And just kind of, all right, like, we just kind of have to get down here and whatnot with Kyle Pitts. And so if he's not going to be, the unicorn or whatever, at least he can get one. He can show up on a highlight reel for one play every single week or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably downed by his draft pick and also the fact that his rookie year was so good. And it was like, okay, well, he was the fourth pick and his rookie year was great with a good QB. So we have a good QB again. Why can't we not get him going again? So, but you think back to that year, what was this, him and Calvin Ridley and CP, and Ridley didn't even play the entire. I mean, that was pretty much. I mean, that was who Matt had to go to at that point was Kyle. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I'll take the low hanging fruit and just go with the D-line. I mean, I was excited about the D-line going into the season because I thought, man, we got this depth here. We've got, Eddie Goldman's this monster in the middle. We can put, Grady on this side and Animata on this side, and whoever you want to put at the edge and just, destroy that middle. Yeah, that really hadn't happened all that much. Not to the degree we wanted it to, at least. I mean, we've generated some pressure. Yeah, we only have 5 sacks. That's just a place we're commonly used to be now. As for a Falcons fan, it's the bottom of the freaking basement when it comes to sacks. And we've heard, different excuses throughout the years about why and what everything. And I guess, I mean, those like the Animata sack. I keep bringing it up, and the Bucs game. That was a game-changing play, man. I mean, that kept it to a one-score game, and so those type of plays matter. And I mean, it'd be nice, to generate some more sacks. I mean, it's just tough that, we need. It would be great to have somebody opposite of Judon who could challenge and get to the quarterback, but right now we just don't. Lorenzo is pretty much useless at doing that. He got there last week, but didn't know what to do when he got there. So that was unfortunate. Andy Dalton got out of there, which was ridiculous. But I don't know. That's been disappointing to me. Linebackers are almost like an incomplete, because like you said, we've had so many injuries, like you haven't even been able to see them kind of what they're supposed to be together at the same time. And like you said, they all have different traits that they're really good at. So how they heavily probably has to have a chance to use them how they want to use them. Corners, I really can't say. I mean, the secondary itself's been good, I guess. It's, again, with that bend don't break, it's like, well, we know they're going to give up yards. So, you know what I mean? It's like, AJ gets torched every time he gives up a touchdown. So that's, or any type of big catch, it's, he's trash. He needs to be off the team.
That's my favorite thing about, and this is not Falcon fans, like all fans I've
you're right.
interacted like this way, but they just love dogging their best players. Like it's just their favorite pastime of like the guys that are clearly the best players on the team.
Yeah.
Are just like, he sucks, he's trash, he's garbage, and it's just like, what? Like, why? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then on the flip side, it's the Lorenzo Carter's are like catches. It's like, yeah, we all know what Lorenzo Carter is. He's been on this team for 3 years. He's a role player.
Exactly.
Like, people are upset that he's just a role player that's not getting sacks. Like he only gets like 3.5 sacks a year when at his best.
Did y'all watch last year? I mean,
so like the high end players and the low end players, I don't really get mad at. It's usually like the middle tier guys that to me are the more frustrating for me personally in terms of the guys that have the potential to be good and they're just not. But like, I don't know. It's just always funny to me how much heat, say, an AJ Terrell or Jake Matthews or Grady Jarrett gets from certain corners of the fan base when it's just like, what? Like, this is the thing that bothers you? Like, you watch these guys play high level football for 5, 10 plus years, and like they get beat once in a while, and it's like, oh my god, they're the worst player. I don't know. Just sorry for going on.
No, dude, no, ran away. Yeah, you do whatever you want. It's all your fucking mind. But yeah, I mean, like that's. I mean, Mike said last week on the show, because he'll get emotional after games, and he'll be like, you know what? He's like, AJ is definitely like 1B. He's not in that. Which I don't disagree, honestly. I don't think he's a shut down corner like you would term that, but he's definitely right there 1B, like you said. I mean, like he said, but because he'll go games. Doesn't allow anything. Nobody says a word, but he'll play good for 3 or 4 straight games. Like nobody says anything, and then like all of a sudden there's a, he allows Deontay Johnson a touchdown. It's like, oh, this guy's shit. Where do you? I mean, he's terrible. And I'm like, really? Like, I mean, like these guys are getting paid too. The opposite side of him, like they're pretty good. He's being asked to cover like either wide receiver 1 or 2 every single week. So it's not like and we know his deficiencies. We've known him for years. I mean, we don't want him to play against Mike Evans ever. But like that's just. It is what it is, you have to deal with those things. And somebody that impressed too, I'll go ahead and I've said it every week. I've apologized. I've already sent the form in. Mike Hughes, so much better than I thought he was going to be, from going into the season. Last year, I thought I wanted him off the team. I didn't think he was going to be on the team. I thought he'd be traded for sure. So when they kept saying, no, he's CB2, I was like, really? Like, did y'all see the same film that we watched? I know he was playing in the slot, but like, really, come on now. Yeah. But hey, kudos to Mike, man. He's played he's played really good this year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Going to your point with the secondary, like what they are being asked to do, they are doing a good job at doing that. Right. The question is, are the things that we're asking to do with all the zone coverage, all the off coverage, all those various things, is that what we really want these guys to do? And you talk about AJ Terrell getting beat by Deontay Johnson. He didn't have any safety help. He's 15 yards off the ball. Johnson has a 2-way go. He's just kind of at that point, the ball's going to come out quick. He has to guess which way Johnson is going to break on that particular play. And I guess he guessed wrong, or he guessed a little bit too late, and it led to a touchdown there. So I think the Falcons DBs are performing as well as you can expect given what they're being asked to do. But again, I think the question is, given what they're asked to do, is like, is that what we want and or need from those guys? But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at the guys we have, it's like, man, they're so much more talented than this. I think that's what, I mean, like we know these guys are capable of doing more than they're asked to be doing, like just dropping back in zone and letting guys catch balls in front of them. We want to see Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons picking off guys, So those happen, when the quarterback's going to make mistakes. But I think it's just like we want to see from a fan's perspective, a more aggressive style, like go get them type of defense, not just sit back and chill, and then make a stop and allow 3 points. And, because it does put more pressure on the offense because, those longer drives, it makes the offense have to be that much more just better. Like they have to be much more efficient. They have to make sure they score on the drives they do get, because other than I think only one game we've actually led in time possession this year, which, I think we were, 10 minutes up on, I think maybe it was the Bucks, I believe, but because we ran 30 more plays than they did, but that type of thing. And credit to our offense. They've been scoring over the last few weeks and doing that job. But yeah, that's a tough spot to put them in. Like, you're going to have to score almost every time sometimes and it's weird too. The first halves, they've been, the offense have been doing whatever they want to do against us. And then the second half, it's like, Bucks scored 6 points, Panthers scored 3 points. It's like they just flip a switch or they just change a few things and whatever, something happens and we don't we're a little bit tighter in those second halves. I kind of wish it would just start that in the first half.
I know. I know the feeling. I know the feeling. It's,
try it for the entire game. Let's see if we
Yeah.
can do that. See what happens. But yeah, and then we could hit special teams. I mean, I don't know what we expected from the kick return thing. I still don't know what to expect from it, to be honest with you. I don't know if I like it or not. I thought I would like it more than I do, but it's just been kind of like for me. Like, I mean, we haven't seen any kind of dynamic returns, anything special. It's just been mostly a lot of touchbacks and a few runs out to the 25. It's like nothing crazy. Koo doing his job, of course, that winning us a game, and that's I'm not worried about Koo. Never have been, so he's been doing well. You have anything on special teams?
No, yeah. Koo is another one of those players that when he messes up, it's
even in the preseason,
it's an existential crisis for Falcon fans and whatnot. And I get it, because it's like you're so not used to seeing him miss kicks, and it's like when he does, it's like, what is happening? Something is wrong with the world. Cats and dogs living together, that sort of thing. But I think with the kickoff, it's funny because during the preseason there was a lot of hype of being like, oh, everybody's sort of keeping all their cards close to the vest, and once the regular season happens, we're going to see all these crazy different things that special teams coordinators have been cooking up all off season long. And I remember, and that got me excited because so many people, I want to say it was like the first 2 weeks of August, it was just like a lot of kickoff based content coming out on various podcasts and written stuff, and people doing all this research. And so that sort of, that wet my whistle, and I was like, okay, like this is going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what happens in the regular season. But then the other thought of me was like, and then there's the flip side that we often get in the NFL where teams just tend to be very conservative and just kick touchbacks or whatever. And that's kind of what's happened. And it's just like all that hype just went nowhere. And so like, I agree with you. It's been a little disappointing. At least we got a kickoff return on was it Thursday night or whatever last week?
Yeah.
So it was nice to see one. Like that was like the first time. Oh my God, I saw someone break something. And Falcons certainly were trying to let Tampa Bay score on some of those kickoffs in that Tampa Bay game. Outside of that, it's been pretty boring on the kickoff. So I agree with you. It's been a little disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. And then I'll be nice. So I think the few positions we haven't hit, wide receivers, I've been very happy with. Like you said, Mooney's been impressive. Ray McLeod, London's doing kind of what we thought London could do, especially coming from the slot, which I think is a great spot for him. It's tough to defend that type of body, especially when he's not fast, but his feet are quick. He's got quick feet. He can move. He knows how to position his body, how to use his body. So that's been fun to watch. I got no issues with either one of our running backs. Love them both. It's I guess the constant last week was almost kind of like, okay, this is what we want to see. You want to see both guys go for 100, and we call it a game. If we can do that every week, and we're straight. People have 15 carries, one had 15, one had 18. And that's ideal. And then Kirk definitely, again, wipe away week one, and since then, been fun to watch for the most part. Hiccups here and there, but I mean, from what we've watched over the past 3 seasons, it's been amazing. Yeah. So I got no issues there. So your take: wide receivers, running backs, quarterback.
Yeah, my only beef with the wide receivers is just some of the contested catch, some of the back shoulder fades that Kirk loves to throw to Darnell Mooney. I'm like, that's not Darnell Mooney plays. Right. Like those are Drake London plays. Like throw those to Drake London. And
we always have the patented Darnell screen every game, and it happened again in the Carolina. I'm like, why do we keep doing this? It goes for 4 yards every time.
For the first time against Carolina, it worked, and it's like, okay, of course it worked against Carolina, right? Now but like we don't need to run that stuff anymore. No. It's not working. But yeah, it's like that's the only issue I have with just like some of these times Kirk gets aggressive, and he's like Darnell Mooney, like he sees Stephon Diggs when he sees Darnell Mooney, or he sees Justin Jefferson, and he's just like, I'm throwing it back shoulder contested. And we saw in the Tampa Bay game when Darnell Mooney went up to catch that touchdown, and it was like, and then I think Kirk is just like, he's going to do that every single time. It's like, dude, Kirk, I don't think that's Darnell Mooney stuff. Like that's Drake London stuff. But like, I do appreciate it. It is fun to.
That was the wildest play watching back on the 22, because like especially from the end zone, because you see it right, and like you saw it, just like, and he just releases the ball, and Darnell's like nowhere near where he ends up catching the ball. Back his turn, 3 guys are in the vicinity. It's like, well, dude, what made you throw that ball? And he was like, yeah, I probably should have thrown that one. Like, yeah, no shit, because I mean, Darnell bailed you out, but man, that was crazy. That was just wild throw. But yeah, I mean, that's I'm with you, man, on that one. So we'll get into and chat, by the way, if y'all have any questions for either one of us or Aaron, I will get to them at the end of the show. We just finish this up. We're going to get into the Seahawks coming up. And so, yeah, like I said, beginning of the show, they have lost 3 in a row. They started off 3-0. They started off, and it was kind of like just from listening to some of the Seahawks podcasts, let's say they didn't know what they had, even though they were 3-0. They beat the Broncos 26-20. They beat the Patriots, squeaked it out 23-20, which, Patriots not a great team. They beat a not great, obviously we know now, Dolphins team 24-3, who can't score without Tua at quarterback. And then they drop it. They drop to the Lions 42-29. They lost to the Giants 29-20, and then this past Thursday on the 49ers, even though I thought they were going to give Shanahan another heart attack in the fourth quarter and when we win the game, they ended up losing that game to the 49ers. So it's kind of, there's some of their issues are somewhat similar to ours. I saw Carrie's comment and I meant to put it up. Let's see, where did she say? Oh yeah, Seattle's going to be a real test in my opinion. They have weapons on offense. No excuse not to get Geno this week. Seattle's O-line is a weakness. Now I've said this quite a bit before. I said this last week, and I said it going into the Pittsburgh game. Like this offensive line's got injuries, and they've got this guy who's not played but 4 games in his life, and we're going to take it. It never happens. It doesn't matter. We don't take advantage. We can't get sacks. It doesn't matter who's the offensive line. But yeah, I mean, what's his name? Stone Forsythe has had a really bad year this year at right tackle, like really bad, giving up crazy amount of pressures. Charles Cross been really, really good left tackle, and he's been one of the better left tackles this year. Their guards can be an issue. Their center's been pretty good. So, yeah, I would love to see us go and take advantage and get Geno on the ground, but I have a hard time buying in until I see them actually take advantage of a downed offensive line.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Or I'm like, yeah, man, there's the potential, but at this point, we've seen the potential.
It's been there,
not necessarily live up to expectations. And I think a lot of it boils down to, the team getting into more favorable looks on defense on third downs. Right, they're at a league high in terms of third and shorts, and it's really hard to get after the quarterback when they only need 2 or 3 yards to convert. And especially going back to the point we made earlier, where it's like they're playing so much off coverage, where it just feels like it's so easy for teams to kind of convert those situations, and they need to get more third and longs. They did that against Carolina. How much of that is Carolina's just bad? And finally, the Falcons defense was able to get into some of those favorable situations. And we'll find out this week against Seattle. But because of, again, my expectation that we'll probably see them go back to being more of that bend but don't break defense, while they were trying to be a little bit more aggressive against Carolina. I'm not expecting, it to be drastically different than what we've seen. Maybe we'll get Judon going a little bit more this week going up against Stone Forsythe. But I'm not going into this game expecting the Falcons to get, more than maybe 1 or 2 sacks in this game. And so it's just like, all right, it's just going to be one of those seasons. I think, again, we just really need to play a quarterback like Sam Howell, like last year, where he's going to get like 5 or 6 sacks in a game,
right,
just holding on to the football, and we can kind of pad our stats a little bit to make it look a little bit more respectable. And Geno will take some sacks, but I don't think he'll take that many sacks enough to really pad the numbers for the Falcons.
Yeah, agreed. And looking here at the injury report, and this is just Seattle's had some issues this year with their injuries. They're getting a few guys back this week, but Stone didn't. I was talking about that our tackle did not participate today, has a hand issue. Their center did not participate today with a toe issue. Trey Brown did not participate. We'll talk about their corners in a little bit. Trey Brown's, that's the weakness, and I guess you could say, of their corners. Tariq Woolen's been good. Witherspoon's been good. Both those guys have been really good for them in the corner. But he did not participate today with an ankle. Laviska Shenault did not participate with a back wide receiver. Starting center, actually, Connor Williams, limited today. Boye Mafe was limited. Byron Murphy, limited, but they expect him to back. He's been out. And Byron Murphy, and y'all know a lot of us liked him coming out of college. We were hoping maybe the Falcons would take a shot at him. Has been a really good player for them. Leonard Williams, Really good pass rusher. If Byron Murphy's back, I could kind of see them moving Leonard Williams outside. What do you think? Like
That's
more.
definitely a possibility. I know, Boye Mafe's been pretty productive for them. He's dealing with some injuries, so yeah, I think they've had so many injuries on defense. It's hard to keep a grasp on like who's
I
on
know.
the field.
I
And it's
know.
like I know Derek Hall is one of the
Mhm.
edges. I know Boye Mafe is the other one. Leonard Williams, Raymond Jones, and it's like those guys seem to be in and out of the lineup. So yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility they could move Leonard Williams around to try to make up for some absences if they have him elsewhere.
Yeah, and it's not listed here, but they just put Rayshon Jenkins on IR, which is one of their safeties. So the chance that we could see Kobe Bryant, which is a corner, playing safety this week. Which I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But and then Julian Love, their other free safety, was a full participant with a hamstring as well. So they've been kind of beat up. Looking at ours, Bijan and Matt Judon both limited, not injury related. Antonio Hamilton limited. Nate Landman limited. Lorenzo with a concussion did not participate. Justin Simmons, we know with the hamstring, did not. And then Troy Anderson out again. I'd assume if we don't see Troy tomorrow, probably not looking great again for this week, I would assume, which kind of sucks. But
yeah, I think I'm not expecting Troy to play, but maybe we'll get some good news later this week. But I think what you're hoping for is him to trend in the right direction and get to a limited status by the end of the week, so that will potentially put him on track to play next week against the Bucs.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. And then if y'all haven't seen, we placed Mike Abernathy on IR today and signed Matt Hennessy. Abernathy obviously playing a pretty big role with in special teams. And I think Raheem said last week that DeMarco is still weeks away, isn't he? Didn't he say that? Or did I make that up? Okay. Yeah. So that sucks. But because Micah is a really good special teamer for sure. And then, like I said, just looking at Seattle's defense in particular, if Byron's back, that's a big help for them. Their linebackers have been just kind of not great this year, especially against the run. They've been giving up quite a bit of yards. In fact, the last 3 games, they're giving up an average of 173 yards a game on the ground, which is great for us. I mean, we should be like Tyler and Bijan should be have their eyes wide open here in that stat. So it could be just a battle of who can outrun each other this week if their defense is going to do that and our defense is going to do what's been doing for the most part, and who's going to make the least amount of mistakes. And consequently, they didn't sack Brock Purdy once last week on Thursday. They did get quite a bit of pressure. They just didn't get him on the ground. And they've lost a turnover battle in the last 3 games, 6-1. It's been a rough little stretch for them. I watched the last 2 games, and they just, I mean, hopefully we can continue this trend, but they just come out just flat, and the offenses they've been playing against just run down the field on them and score almost immediately, and then they're down, and they, it's almost like Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator, like you said earlier, run a little bit, but then it was almost they just abandoned it really, really early and then start throwing.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of summarizing some of their issues. They have been slow starters, especially these last couple of weeks, and hopefully the Falcons can start fast and force their hand and force them to have to play from behind, and throw the football and make them one-dimensional, and completely take the running game out of it, so that we don't have to worry about pulling our hair out with that one. And then I think that leads to kind of how the Falcons want to play, right? If they make you one-dimensional, they're playing from behind, that's probably going to force Geno and Ryan Grubb to try to push the ball down the field. And that's where, someone like Jesse Bates or Justin Simmons can make the plays that they're capable of making on some of those interceptions, and that plays to the Falcons' strength. So I do think if the Falcons offense can get off to a fast start and Seattle gets off to what has been over the last 3 weeks, a typical slow start, that definitely plays into the Falcons' hands.
Yeah, agreed. And Tyrell Dotson is one of their starting inside linebackers, and he was one of the guys that's just been the 2 games I watched. I don't know. That's like he looks pretty lost in the run game and just gets blown off the ball or guesses wrong. Jerome Baker is really athletic, but kind of sometimes he's put in bad positions too, and trying to do it all and can't really. Like you said, Derek Hall's been good. Witherspoon, definitely one of those aggressive stuff. Were you a Witherspoon guy? I can't remember when he was.
I was not. I guess I liked him. I didn't like him like a top 5, top 10 pick.
I can
But so
remember if
far
you were,
he's made me look pretty silly up to this point. So yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty damn good. Yeah, he's like very aggressive. He'll come after the ball for sure. And that, Kirk did scare me a few times last week. Now with I mean, JC Horn almost taking one, and then
Yeah.
like that. There's a few times like, do that, don't do that, don't do that. Tariq Woolen, like a bigger corner too, go out there and make a play. But defensively, like I said, I think it's depending on who they have back and what they decide to do this week. I mean, Mike McDonald, we know, really good defensive mind from Baltimore, but doesn't quite have that Baltimore personnel there to do, I think, what he exactly wants to do. So we could take advantage of that. But offensively, man, what do you, other than Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet, did the receivers and Geno worry you at all?
Yeah, they do. They do. I think that's really the strength of the Seattle offense, which is their 3 wide receivers. I think it's kind of a pick your poison receiver group. Any one of those guys is liable to go off. Unfortunately, as a Tyler Lockett owner in fantasy, he has not been that guy that's going off as much as I want. And then last week he had a pretty good game from a fantasy standpoint, and he was on my bench, so I was a little frustrated with that. But I think of that group going up against his Falcons secondary, I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is probably the one that worries me the most. We've seen AJ go up against DK Metcalf and hold his own. I think we should be okay going up against Tyler Lockett as well. They'll probably get theirs, as they often do, is kind of the point I'm making. But I don't expect either one of those guys to go off for like 140 yards. But, given that D. Alford's been up and down this year, when we talk about the secondary, if he's probably the guy that probably has the most questions up to this point, I could see Jackson Smith and Jigba being a featured weapon this week for Seattle. And I think that could be something that could give the Falcons some problems, particularly on some of those third downs and whatnot. So I think that is a concern. And with Geno, I'm a fan of Geno, so this is going to sound like a diss, but like Geno thinks he's Josh Allen. He thinks he's Patrick Mahomes, right? And I love the confidence that Geno has, because he's basically, I can make any throw, and it will get him in trouble at times, but he is capable of making a lot of crazy throws. Like he kind of has a little bit of Kirk Cousins to him, and sort of the little chaos to him. Right. But because he has a bigger arm, he has a little bit more a lot more mobility than Kirk does at this point. Like he's capable of pulling some plays out of his butt that you're just like, how did he do that? And so I think that, especially for a team like the Falcons, who struggle to get pressure, and if they do get pressure, Geno could escape that pressure and make them pay, heaving up a deep ball to DK Metcalf from time to time, as we kind of saw Justin Fields do to George Pickens in that week 1 game that we don't talk about.
Right.
So I do think that's going to be a challenge for this team. But I think if the Falcons can continue to do what they've done and not give up the explosive plays, I think they'll be all right. But it is something that I'm concerned about going into the game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And they, I think they're waiting for, a lot of the Seattle fans are waiting for like that Jackson Smith and Jigba like breakout type of game. And God forbid it be this weekend. But I mean, because like you said, of the guy that's there, he could be lined up against Alford, and that could be a mismatch for sure. I mean, we just can't let we let Andy Dalton take off on us. So like, I really don't want to see like Geno, because he can get a lot more yards than Andy Dalton can, and Baker Mayfield for that matter. Baker Mayfield always seems to take off on us for 30 yards, and so we don't need to have Geno having 50+ yards rushing this game. That'd be not a good sign either. But overall, what are you looking at? Are you picking us to win this week, or what are you thinking?
I'm expecting the Falcons to win. I think the momentum they've had the last 3 weeks makes me feel, but I think it's going to be another one of the games that we've seen so many times this year, where it's going to be one score, final 5 minutes. Who makes the most plays in the final 5 minutes? Who has the ball last? That's probably going to determine the outcome of the game. And those types of games are just hard to get a feel for, because it's just really kind of just boils down to 1 or 2 plays at the end of the game that kind of decide, the outcome. Throwing a slant to Drake London and getting that spike down with 1 second to go, is what wins you the game, as opposed to literally a split second difference could have cost you. So,
yep.
I like the Falcons just because we've won more of those games as of late. But to me, it's kind of a toss-up sort of game. But I'm leaning towards the Falcons, and that says a lot because you know me. I will take any opportunity to pick against the Falcons if I can. So maybe that's not a good sign if I'm being
Dude, I don't know. I don't even know because, like I said, we should have in past years lost that Philly game. We should have lost the Bucks game. You know what I mean? Like this, past teams would have lost these games. So the fact that we're actually winning these games, so yeah, maybe it's okay. It's all right. It's okay to be a little bit positive. Just jump across a little bit. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think it's gonna be a one possession type game. I said a few weeks ago, I was just waiting for like maybe just one game where we could just chill in the fourth quarter. And last week's about as probably close as we're going to get. And that was only 4 minutes left, and we were like, okay, 4 minutes. I think we're good now. And AJ makes a pick, and I think we can chill. But it was I'm guessing like a 31-28-ish, type of game. Three, that's Rob. I'm hopefully we're on the. I think, like I said, I think we're win two. Being at home is good. I think we got a lot of momentum going in, like you said. Seattle's reeling right now. They need a win, but they're in a tough spot because of their injuries that they've had, and just the fact that, like I said, I think their offensive coordinator is still trying to figure out exactly what, first time play caller in the NFL, and what exactly. Of course, we Penix knows him really well from Washington, so maybe he can share some things with with Jimmy Lake about it. Who knows? But that's kind of what I'm hoping for, man. I'm hoping that I don't care how we win it, just win it, go 5-2. However it happens, it happens. But that's what I'm hoping for. Let's jump back in the chat. See I think I did see a question for you. Aaron Jerome, what's up, buddy? He said, what will be the most realistic trade based on cap space and scheme? Miles, Ojulari, or Reddick?
Well, Miles not realistic. Browns not trading Miles.
No.
They're just not going to do that. Reddick is not realistic because again, we'll see what the situation now that he's got a new agent in Drew Rosenhaus, and if he's going to play without a new contract. But I don't see the Falcons trading for Reddick. I didn't see it, this summer when those rumors came about. Like if the Falcons were going to trade for Reddick, they would have done it in April when the Jets did it. Because at that point, the Falcons would have been much more open to giving Reddick the contract. And, trading for Judon and not giving him the contract kind of tells you that they're not going to be in the market for trading for another pass rusher and then give the contract, and that's not going to go well. So I think Ojulari's of these three is the most realistic. I don't know if the Giants are going to part ways with him quite yet unless someone blows them away with an offer. He is a free agent after this year. Given that they just paid Brian Burns, they have Kayvon Thibodeau. They're probably not going to re-sign him. He'll probably have a better market elsewhere. So I could see the Giants basically being like, let's try to get something for him now. But at the same time, because he'll probably have a decent market, like they'll probably get like a 4th or 5th round pick in terms of compensatory pick or something like that. So I think you'd have to, throw a 3rd round pick or something like that at them for them to really jump at that trade. Again, maybe it goes for less. But, given that the Falcons don't have a 3rd, don't have a 5th, I'm not convinced that like they'll be able to, if there is a bidding war for Ojulari, and there's several other teams out there that are looking for pass rushers, including Detroit Lions due to injury to Aiden Hutchinson. I feel like there's going to be other teams that are going to be a little bit more willing to outbid the Falcons in some of these circumstances, as we've seen a number of times at the trade deadline with some of these past trades with Chase Young and Montez Sweat, et cetera, in the past. So I think Ojulari is probably the most realistic for the Falcons in this case because Garrett ain't getting traded, and who knows what happens with Reddick at this point. But I'm not going to bet on basically an Ojulari trade, but I think it's probably more plausible than the other ones.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, like, I don't know that anybody that we would get, like you said earlier, if we're working in the world of 3rd and 3s and 3rd and 2s, I mean, we can have whoever you want rushing the passer. They're probably still going to have a chance to get there when, we've got to get, if we can get the 1st and 2nd down defense a little bit better to where these guys have an opportunity to really rush the passer, then we'll be in good shape. But yeah, we've got to really, really work on that 1st and 2nd down where they're not working again with 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 all the time. Just see, Kerry said, just saw Justin Simmons didn't participate. Yeah, hamstring. Everything I've read is they're positive about it. I think it's probably just precautionary still, just letting him rest, not trying to go out there and get him hurt. Timothy says, so what's Seattle's O-line? I heard they were pretty banged up. Maybe double X. Man, look, if we do it,
be nice.
I don't know. I'll make up something to do. It's crazy. Or I'll get Mike to do something crazy. It's probably better. Backtown, what's up, buddy? Mr. Smith said, do y'all see us getting a pass rusher via trade, or is there any left in free agency? Free agency, I don't know. Nobody like springs to mind.
No. I think everybody got snatched up.
Yeah.
I think Yannick Ngakoue was like the last guy left.
I was going to say, I think Yannick was the last guy.
By Baltimore, I think, maybe.
I mean, I guess like Aaron said, I can see us making a move, but like something like an Ojulari or something along the lines of that, lower down the edge. I mean, I say it every week, but it really sucks that Braylon Trice got hurt. I don't know what he would have been, but he was trending pretty well, even though we hadn't seen him very well. I've seen a lot of him. I don't know. I thought he with this current construction, I thought he probably would have been an impact, some form of impact, but it sucks. Linda, what's up? She said, for the next 2 games, of course, I would love to take both of them, but if we can get but one, I would love to get a win against Tampa again. Yeah, that's very true. And Carrie said, any chance we see Dorless, especially with Lorenzo Carter now having a concussion?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I think we, if Carter's out this week, DeAngelo Malone can stand up. Maybe we'll get some action from him. But I think that does open the door for Dorless to also get maybe an opportunity on defense this week as well.
Yeah. I mean, I figured like at some point we're going to get to see him. And how have you felt about Rook so far? Like I thought he's played pretty well for the limited amount he's been in there.
Yeah, I think he's been, I think he's done more good than bad as a run defender, which is saying something for this run defense.
Yeah.
So, I think getting him more work there, I think will be valuable for the Falcons. The pass rush hasn't quite been there, but like I think we kind of all expected that, given where Rook was coming out of Clemson, that was going to be a work in progress. But I've been impressed. He's after the preseason, I was kind of like, I don't know if Rook's going to really make a difference on the defense based on how he played this summer, and he's exceeded my expectations through 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. He was so close to having Dalton last week, man. That stupid ass crazy, like Dalton completed to wasn't it Deontay on the sideline? Yeah. That should never have happened. Yeah, so close to getting him on the ground, but oh well, that was close. Push at you, Bradley. We'll catch you later, man. King. Oh yeah. Dan the man said we're all hyped for another trade. Yep. King Richard said, hey fellas, how do y'all feel? Should we stay in the more man and 4-3 or stick to the cover 3-3-4 or go multiple? I think they're going to the fact that Jimmy Lake went and tried to at least see what would happen with man is good, but I think it's still going to be multiple depending on the opponent and what our situation is with our injuries, basically.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm expecting more of the cover 3-3-4 stuff this week, but I would love to be wrong. Going back to something you said, John, where it's like I think we want to see more of that man 4-3 because it was so effective last year and how they played, and it's like, hey, this worked. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Especially with so many of the same players coming back, but they're trying some other stuff, and so I think they'll just kind of over the next couple of weeks, just kind of keep throwing stuff at the wall and see what works. And then hopefully they'll figure out something and down the stretch, we'll be okay with the defense. That's, I think, what we're shooting for. Just, okay, they're fine. They're fine. That's all they need to be is just fine. And that's what I think we're shooting for.
Yep, I'm with you on that. What's up, Global Falcons podcast? Marcus said, Gino's constantly under siege with that horrible offensive line. He has to put the Seahawks on his back. Yeah, he has been. I mean, that's and he's been asked to a lot. Like I said, I mean, they've got 2 good backs who they just don't want to seem to go to all the time. Liam, what's up, buddy? Rodney said, who will we extend next year, Simmons or Judon? What's your money on, Aaron?
I mean, I think I would probably put my money on Judon, but it's kind of a toss-up at this point in time.
Yeah, I'd agree. Just for the pure fact of it's harder to get a decent pass rusher, or a good one even. So Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I love to say both. I don't know what Simmons is looking for. They're both north of 30, they 31, 32 at this point. So don't know what that looks like contractually, but I'm sure we'll be talking about near the end of the season. That's for sure. How that breaks down. Marcus, what's up, man? Good to see you, man. He says Seahawks fan here. Which, by the way, before I forget, if y'all want to talk some more Seahawks and Falcons, I'll be on with Seahawks Forever on Friday at 3 p.m. here. Well, I think we'll be live on their channel and on or his channel and on our channel. So 3 p.m. on Friday if y'all want to see some more. Anyway, he said, I can't see where y'all have any doubts this Sunday, buddy. No, we're Falcons fans, man. So doubts always live somewhere in our hearts. There's always some doubt. Some of us. Mike predicted us to be 6-0 right now, so I can't say that. So, but at 1 p.m. game, our defense is a mess, to say the least. I'm not confident in Seattle this week. Hey, man, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. We're some of us are still kind of waiting for the shoe to drop. Some of us are like, oh no, we're good, we're rolling. And I'm kind of somewhere in between. It's like I'm thrilled with the offense, the way it's looked these last few weeks. Love the running game. I love the fact we won the game like we did against Tampa Bay when Todd Bowles said, you're not going to run the ball. And Kirk said, fine, I'll throw for 500 on you. And then the next week, we ran for 200 yards. So the fact we can do both of those is great. I'm more confident than I definitely have been in the last few years. I can definitely say that. But that being said, I still, think it's going to be a close game on Sunday. All that being said, Bradley said the Calais Campbell reunion. I don't know, man. I mean, the Miami's it's probably definitely not going the way he thought it was going to go this year down in Miami. That's for sure.
Yeah, I got an email today of someone basically throwing this out there, and they were like, "You like that idea?" I was like, "Yeah, it makes sense to me. Like, sure, let's do it. Let's get it rolling. Anything at this point,
absolutely.
We'll get a thumbs up for me." But I would love to see it, but we'll just sort of have to see. I know a big part of him going to Miami was just going home, I guess you could say, given that he played at the U and whatnot. So we'll see if he's ready to sort of come back to the A or something like that.
Yeah. 4 quarters said, I feel another strong rushing game from our offense coming up, possibly a pass rush breakout game. Hey, man, from your freaking mouth to God's ear, let's do it. I'm all about it. And Jamal said, just got back in the chat. We can't sit around trade deadline. Yeah, hopefully we don't. I mean, like I said, hopefully I'd like to see a move. Like we said, anything will help, really. I mean, it's definitely a pass rusher, like you said. He said, would y'all entertain a Michael Penix for Myles Garrett? No. No, I wouldn't, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Jamal, I appreciate that one. I'm gonna be chuckling at that one.
No, no, man. We gotta keep our quarterback that's gonna be here after Kirk. I would love Miles, but like Aaron said, Browns ain't gonna trade him anyway. They can't. There's no way they trade him. I mean, I know they got issues with Deshaun, but that's a whole other issue.
Yeah. The whole like, you're not going to trade your best player just so you can double down on Deshaun Watson, given the season that he's had. Like, I know they're the Browns and they've been, historically a bad team, but like they've generally, outside of the one contract and the one player, they've generally made good decisions these last couple of years in the Kevin Stefanski era. So I don't think holding the Browns to how poorly run they were, 10, 15 years ago at the height of the Hugh Jackson era or something like that as something that's likely to happen. So again, it trading arguably the best defensive player in the league just so you can be like, so that we can better afford Deshaun Watson, I think would be a crazy move at this point for the Browns.
I saw somebody else, I might have been on Twitter, but we all know what happens on Twitter. But like that guy, somebody said Max Crosby for Penix. And I was like, no, still not.
Well, I know the Raiders would probably take that trade.
100%.
Apparently, that's who they really wanted.
Yeah.
And we screwed them over with that one. So
exactly.
They would at least answer the phone call if we made that phone call.
Exactly. Gabriel said Jalen Johnson just dunked on somebody. Good. I'll have to watch that replay then. Looking forward to seeing that. All right, guys. So that's pretty much it. Aaron, do you have anything else, buddy, that you want to cover for the Seahawks game or anything else you want to get off your chest?
No, I just want to say Vive la France for Ricochet and the Atlanta Hawks. So that's about it.
Good deal, man. So like I said, we'll be back. Mike and I will be back. let's see, what's today? Today is Wednesday. We'll be back after the game, hopefully so he'll be back in town. He'll be back in town, but he'll be in a different hotel. So hopefully that hotel will have Wi-Fi, will be straight. If not, I may be calling Aaron to do the recap show on Sunday at some point after the game. But just keep your eyes posted on the channel, or on follow us on Twitter, Out of Your Effing Mind. You can find out all the stuff on the show there. And again, if you want to talk some more Seahawks Falcons Friday at 3 p.m., I'll be on again with Seahawks Forever on YouTube. Aaron, buddy, tell the folks where they can find you and what you got coming up. I mean, obviously they know, Locked On every single day, but other than that.
Yeah, check me out, Locked On Falcons, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Occasionally tweeting on Twitter, just nonsense at Locked On Falcons. Find my written work over at thefalcaholic.com, the SB Nation website for the Atlanta Falcons. So, yeah, just keep it chugging along all season long. We'll see what happens on Sunday with the Seahawks. But I'm feeling good, at this point in time. So, and if you are an everydayer of Locked On Falcons, you know that I don't feel good about anything with the Atlanta Falcons. So,
yeah, I'm just going to say, so if anybody's listening, and I know he doesn't sound like he's super excited, but just the fact that he said he's feeling good should make you guys just jump out of your seats to be excited. Because, I mean, if Mike is here, he'd be screaming. You wouldn't be able to hear anything. You'd be just, your ears would be blown off from the speakers. But, no, man, I really appreciate you coming on and essentially co-hosting with me tonight, since, Mike had technical difficulties. But definitely come back on soon again, especially if things keep rolling. Because, again, Mike in a very good mood where he can just put his chest out, wear his sunglasses, and really not take shit from anybody is a really good sight, and it's fun to be around. So, but anyway, guys, you can follow us on Twitter, Out of Your Effing Mind, Instagram, Out of Your Falcon Mind, as well as TikTok. You can email us, atlfalconfancast@gmail.com. And we will catch you guys after the game. And just like last week, if y'all want to guess the score for the game, put it in the comments of the video, not the chat, put it in the comments of the video. First one to get it right, we will send you an Out of Your Falcon Mind t-shirt. Somebody's got to win. We've been doing this for 2 seasons. Nobody's won yet. So somebody, if if you get close, we'll send it to you. But just somebody get it right this week. Predict the Falcons win. You'll be good to go. We appreciate y'all, man. Again, we'll see y'all Sunday. Much love. Peace.